first question, easy. How do you feel about this festival? How do you?
I mean, it seems great. I mean, first of all, to have a festival in this location is pretty unbelievable. You know, like it's funny because I've been traveling all over Europe to promote the movie and attending a lot of festivals, and it's like one beautiful place after another. You know, and it's great. So I'm so fortunate to be able to come here and present the movie.
About this movie, this is your first feature film. Technically speaking.
Yeah.
We know you have a huge experience in animation. Can you tell us about your career from Dexter's Lab to Hotel Transylvania?
Yeah, I mean, I was very, you know, when I started the animation in the early '90s, it was a time of transition, you know, and I was very fortunate to be able to, at a young age, like 24, 25, to start to present my own material that I wrote and created. And learn along the way, you know, making so many mistakes, but at the same time creating characters. And you started to realize that it's really about the characters, you know, and that's what people really grab onto. And so from you know, Dexter's, then through producing, directing Powerpuff for my friend, then creating Samurai Jack and doing that, and then all that body of work was able for us to do Clone Wars, Star Wars. And then after that, I was kind of, you know, television is very hard and it's very fast. I always kind of describe it as I start drawing, and before I finish the drawing, it's taken from me and it's put on the air, you know. And I wanted to break, so I thought that features would be good, you know, tell one story, longer amount of time, and also, you know, I felt like a separation from the audience. You know, like I would finish an episode of any show, and then it premieres, I watch it at home, and there's no reaction. You know, and sometimes as a storyteller, you want a reaction, you know. And so I thought to sit in a movie theater with an audience would be a great experience, you know. And so I started working with Sony on a different idea, and then it was, you know, it goes very slow. And then they said, well, look, we have this opportunity, and, you know, you can direct this movie. And then they presented the story to me, and I realized, you know, the story of Dracula, and to have an opportunity to do Dracula fresh, you know, for a new generation, not like Twilight or, you know, the way vampires are nowadays, was very exciting to me, and I wanted to make Dracula like a Bugs Bunny, like a superstar.
Is this the way you get monsters to be funny?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. As a kid, I hated scary. You know, I never liked to be feel afraid. So, but at the same time, I liked Frankenstein, I liked Dracula, I liked the Mummy. So I had to get my monsters through comedies. You know, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, those type of things. And so this was such a perfect vehicle for me, because now I could present scary in a very funny way.
And there is, in your movie, the cave is shaped like the mask in Phantom of the Opera, am I right? There is a reference to Phantom of the Opera?
Oh, in that cave?
Yes.
Oh.
What are your references in this movie? What are your inspirations?
So actually, it wasn't Phantom of the Opera. It was really, you know, the castle. And there's actually, you know, there's a real Dracula's castle in Transylvania, and they've got some of these secret tunnels with these really low caves. And so I think that was more the inspiration. But for us, we really, you know, if you're really going to do a monster movie, you think of the location to be very gothic. You know, a lot of blacks and all this detail. And we wanted it to feel, it's like a vacation home, you know, for these resort, you know, and so you wanted to feel comfortable and welcoming, you know, to the monsters. So we made it very colorful. You know, we really were inspired by almost the Technicolor of the 50s, you know, that type of look. And so we made the castle more neutral. You know, the nighttime sky is very blue. It's almost day. And the characters are very saturated with color. And that it made it feel more cartoony and at the same time very welcoming.
And this movie is also in 3D. How did this affect your work of director?
It was difficult at first. You know, I think after 20 or so years of dealing with 2D graphic images, you know, I wanted the same feel to it. You know, and then 3D. The thing about it is sometimes it distracts you from the story. You know, because all of a sudden, like, whoa, look at here, it just went past me. And then all of a sudden you realize you're sitting in a theater, while the whole thing for me is to watch a movie and forget where you are, and you're really involved in the story. So the luxury that I had is that in the afternoon I would approve the shot in 2D, and then later that night I would see the 3D version of it, you know, and it was amazing how different sometimes it is. And so I was able to, like, okay, let's remove some elements to make it simpler, so you're just following the story along, and that way I could control it a little better.
Okay. Do you think that animation is ideal for comedy?
It is, I think animation is, because I love animation, I think it's ideal for anything. I think it's, we could do whatever we want, and we could create a world that's very believable because we deal with caricature, and we could stylize something. And especially for comedy, we could do very broad expressions. And it's funny, it's like, I think in the last 20 years, we haven't taken advantage of it. We've taken advantage of, what if, toys come to life or cars come to life in that sort of way. But we haven't taken advantage of all the different expressions you can make with it, and the silliness of the movement, that you could laugh at the way somebody walks, and I think that's what I always loved about animation, and I feel like it's perfect for comedy. So the way Dracula walks or Frankenstein, you can get a laugh out of that, and there's nothing more satisfying to me than to have the audience laugh at something physical without the dialogue.
You talked earlier about the reception, the public getting the reaction.
Yes.
Thank you, of the public. How did the public react to Hotel Transylvania?
It was great. It was better than I think I ever anticipated it, and it was like, I remember my first screening that I went to, and the movie wasn't even finished yet. And this was my first experience. You sit in the movie theater, there's like 300 people, and it was kids and adults, and you get so nervous first. It's like yourself on the screen, like I'm doing stand-up. And the movie starts, and when the first laugh comes, you feel like exhilarated. It feels so good, and then you just kind of sit along for the ride. And the great thing was, I felt an interaction between the screen and the audience. So then the audience told me where it felt, oh, this part feels a little slow, or this part, they're not understanding the joke. And sometimes there was 2 jokes that work, but then the first joke was so funny that the second joke people were still laughing over, So it gave me the opportunity to, I'll just move this joke over a little bit, and then now we got 2 laughs. And television, I would have never known that, because it's such a different thing. So it was really, and then when the movie premiered, I went, with my wife, and to see the movie with a real audience, and it was great just to have. The best thing about it was to have kids and adults laughing together, and you feel like whenever, like, a kid and a parent laugh together, there's a bond that happens, and they're like, can look at each other and smile, and it's really fun to experience.